Hey, I'm back with another speed art. This one is of Super Mario from 1993. So I uploaded the evolution of Super Mario to my channel last month, and for it I had to watch the 1993 Mario movie for the first time. I had seen bits and pieces of it growing up on cable and seen clips floating around the internet, but I had never seen it all the way through. And after hearing so many terrible things about it, I was expecting like Jack and Jill levels of bad filmmaking, but that's not what I saw. I saw a movie that has a lot of good, surrounded by a lot of weird choices, sure. So today I wanted to highlight 5 reasons why Super Mario Bros. 1993 isn't so bad. Number 5. Casting. Let's talk some casting. Can we talk about the casting? Bob Hoskins as Mario is great. Not only does he look the part, but he does a perfect, if not slightly exaggerated, Brooklyn accent. He's a little older than the character is usually portrayed, but I think it harkens back to how old the character was initially conceived. You also get Luigi Mario, played by John Leguizamo. He's probably closer in age to the modern representations of Luigi and Mario, and I think making him younger than Mario and implying that he was more or less raised by his brother gives him a more interesting dynamic. And John Leguizamo does a great job in the role. Sure, he's maybe like a little silly, but I think he kind of looks the part, and he's kind of acting the part for what this movie needs. And I have to mention the great Dennis Hopper as King Koopa. Now say what you want about this version of Bowser, but Dennis Hopper is doing a lot with the material. He's both able to be comedic and captivating when on screen. Like this is the chain-wielding adversary of Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and the bad guy from Blue Velvet. How they scored him to play a devolved dinosaur is mind-blowing. Like the guy's a legend and he chews the scenery up whenever he gets the chance. And say what you want about the direction they took these characters, the acting for what it is by our leads is, to me, as good as it could have been. Number 4. Production design. Production designer David Snyder also worked on Blade Runner of all films, and he brought that same level of craftsmanship to this film. Now, is it weird that the Mushroom Kingdom looks like a cyberpunk New York City? Sure, but it doesn't look bad. There's a lot of thought put into the city. For one example, because this universe's dinosaurs didn't go extinct and instead evolved, all the cars in the city are electric, which is why you see a lot of sparks during chase scenes. There's also a little nod to the games on some of the storefronts, so there's a lot of thought put into the city that these characters inhabit. Like, sure, is it strange that the Mushroom Kingdom really doesn't have much mushrooms at all? Sure, it does have like the fungus growing, but either way, I think what we see is really cool. Number 3. CGI innovations. Recently I watched a Corridor Crew video that outlined some of the CGI innovations this film did for the first time, such as particle effects that would probably be pretty easy to do today, but this film had to walk so the CGI artists nowadays could run. Also, it's the first film to use the Kodak Cineon scanner, which allowed them to digitize the shots. The first film to use the software Flame, which helped them to morph characters, and they created the LUT scanner to take log footage and make it look more natural. So it's actually the first film to implement a lot of these tools, and paved the way for all modern movies. The film was even nominated for an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, but lost to another dinosaur film, Jurassic Park. Number 2. Yoshi's appearance. Now say what you want about Yoshi not looking like or acting like himself here, but I'd be hard pressed to find anyone who doesn't feel anything for the tiny little dinosaur on screen. The puppetry for him is really well done, and I assume the face is using animatronics, which look great. So again, if this wasn't Yoshi, and was instead just a non-Nintendo character, I think people wouldn't complain about his design or use in this film, but because people have expectations for characters they love, they're kinda hard-pressed to actually care about something that doesn't look how it should. I think Yoshi is possibly my favorite Nintendo character. It's the character I usually choose when I'm playing Mario Kart. Just thinking about him makes me all warm and fuzzy inside, just how nice he is to little baby Mario. I love Yoshi. I'm not gonna say that this version in this film is better than the Yoshi that it could have been, but for what we have here, I think this is really cool, and at least well done. Number 1. I love how weird it is. Movies based on source material these days I think are too afraid of upsetting the fan bases to stray far away from the source material, and whenever they do, fans of the original are seemingly in an uproar. But in the 1990s, you can make a weird cyberpunk dystopian Mario movie and market it as the film of the year. The studio wouldn't step in to stop you. Now the studio did have some notes, but the fact that this weird film could be released 30 years ago is absolutely insane. And that's kinda why I like this movie. Now, is it a film I'm gonna toss on every year? Probably not. But do I think it deserves the moniker of the worst movie of all time? Yeah, no I don't. Especially after watching some movies that are way worse. I'm looking at you, Krampus movies, but I think this film is being re-evaluated today, and I wish Bob Hoskins and Dennis Hopper were alive to see the fans of this movie, because I know they both hated working on it, along with most of the cast. But it certainly has a cult following today, and if someone enjoys this film more than the 2023 film, I don't think I'd question them. 2023 is definitely the better Mario movie. But which one is the better film in general is up to the viewer to decide. Because you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and sometimes you gotta trust the fungus. So what do you think of the 1993 Mario movie? Is it as bad as people say? Or do you maybe have a little bit more respect for it after watching this speed art? Either way, I'd love to know in those comments down below. I'd also like to thank all my patrons, including the recently signed up Daniel Sterland and Joe Ferry. There's a link to check out the latest animations on Tell It Animated down below, and until next time, I've been Aaron, and I'll tell you something later.